So we took a look at the wired side of things. Now let's take a look at the wireless side of things when it comes to what our OneTouch AT G2. We're looking at the G2 in this case. So if we go to networks, so we come into our discovery, and if I come here and I click on my little wireless network right there, it's going to bring up my wireless network discovery information. This is going to show me the wireless networks I've discovered. Shows me the SSID, shows me what type of network, N, this is ACA, this supports G and B. It shows me how many access points we've seen for that network. So I could say, I want to sort by number of access points. So it's going to tell me right here for PR home, we've got 3 access points. Tells me what my signal strength is. So this gives us a way we can find out what networks are out there and how many APs do we see for each network. If I click on the network, I really like this little graphic. It tells me here's what securities are being supported. And it shows me this nice little graphic that says, you know what? We've got one AP that is within a good signal strength, and we've got 2 of them in here that are medium signal strength. So it gives me a nice little graphical indication of where those APs are sitting. Over here on the right-hand side, it shows us we have 3 APs, we have 2 clients, we're on 3 different channels, and we have 1 interference source. Right here, that interference device is Bluetooth. Probably this Bluetooth mouse right here. So I go back to networks, and it takes me right back there. If I want to zoom out of PR home, I click on it again. So it starts giving me a picture of what's going on out there. I could say, show me by signal strength. So it tells me NPS Office is pretty good, Netgear 77, 5G. I mean, we can see the difference between 2.4 and 5 when it comes to our signal strength in there, and that is the same AP. That's always kind of interesting things to look at. If we go to access points, this will show us what access points are out there. So if I come back here, I go to access points, there's my APs. It tells me there is the name of the AP, there's the MAC address. This shows me how many clients are associated with that AP, what channel is it on, and what's its signal strength. So if we click on Office Netgear, we can zoom in, we can start seeing what's going on in here, and we could see, do we have any interference sources? Shows me the number of retries, current utilization, both 802.11 and non-802.11. Shows me what my signal strength is and what my noise is. So it starts giving me a picture of what our connectivity looks like. And it shows us both our 2.4 and 5 gigahertz information. Okay. So we can go take a look at clients. Tells us what clients we see out there. What channels are they on? What technology are they using? What is their signal strength? Okay. And we can take a look at channels. So if I were interested in what channels are currently being utilized, I could go in and take a look at that information. Tells me how many APs do I see on each channel. So if we came in and we looked at our network right here, I go to channels. I have 3 APs on channel 1, none on 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's great. Nothing on 7, 8, 9, 10. Got some on 11. Nothing on 12, 13. That's fantastic. Now I can start getting up here into the 5 gigahertz frequency ranges. But what this does is this starts giving me a good picture of, do I have devices out there on channels that could be overlapping with channels that I may have already operating out there. Interferers. This is specific to the OneTouch AT G2. So with the OneTouch AT G2, it has the circuitry built into it, it has the software built into it to listen to what's going on out there and detect interference devices. It looks at the signal pattern coming from that device and uses that as a way to identify that device. So in here we see we've got a microwave oven, got some Bluetooth, got a wireless video camera, and we've got a cordless phone. Now somewhere around here I do have a wireless video camera that just absolutely destroys channel 1 on my network. So I'm not going to fire that up. I don't want to cause any problems on my wireless network right now. But in this case, this is going to give us that information about those devices that we have out there. Now if I click on one of these devices, I can go into locate and start locating those devices. Okay. So here's some of our sorts. Now one of the questions that came up was signal to noise. So let's come back here, and if we go to a channel, we go to let's go to an access point. Okay, this does give us our signal, it does give us our noise, but in this particular case, we are not getting a signal to noise ratio. Now let me just validate in here. Yeah. So we are not getting the SNR. And if I click in here, I do see my signal and I do see my noise, but I don't see my signal to noise ratio. So that is something that we see with the AirCheck G2 that we don't see with the OneTouch AT. Just going through and making sure. Yeah. So we can look at our APs, but yeah, we're not getting a signal to noise ratio on there. Now, some of our tools that we have built in here is, let's say I came back and I went to networks and I wanted to check connectivity to PR guest. So I could go to tools, I could say connect. So it says unable to connect, security defined in profile. Oh. So we're going to have to go to home. We're going to have to go in here and we're going to go to Wi-Fi, and we would have to come in and set that up. So I'd have to come into PR guest and I would need to set up my password. I can come in here, I can go to PR guest, go to tools, click on connect. So now it's going to connect to that network. So it tells us it connected to the downstairs AP on channel 11. We got connected. It's going out and trying to get an IP address. Got an IP. Connect to the DHCP server. Now, if you start wandering around with your OneTouch AT, each time we roam, it'll tell us where we roamed from, where we roamed at, we were connected for. So it's going to show us that roaming information. And when I showed you before where we could set our roaming threshold, we can change that threshold and we can roam from one place to the next. If we want to see the detailed information about this connection, we can click on log, and it will show us where we connected. So it shows this information, and if we roam, it'll show that roaming information in there. So as we walk around, we would see our signal level start going down, and eventually we would roam to the next AP. Tells us what our connection speed is. So this gives us a way we can go in and check connectivity to that network. Now if I click on an AP, and I click on this one that's in our back room, and I click on Tools, and I click on Connect, I can tell it which one of these I want to connect to. So now, instead of connecting to the AP with the strongest signal, it is connecting to that AP that we selected. So we can tell it to connect to a specific access point. We don't have to just accept that we connect to any of them. So in this case, we were able to connect to that AP. We're waiting for an IP address to come back. Got our IP address, and we're able to connect just fine, and it shows our log. Now here's where our authorization is. Again, this is strictly informational. I can say that we will use whatever the default is, and that's where in our Wi-Fi we could say the default is unknown or the default is authorized. We can say this is an unauthorized device on our network. This is a neighboring device, or we can flag that device. So this allows us to go in and configure that information. And again, this is really when we run our reports, it's going to show what that device type is. It really doesn't do anything more than that. It's just an indication on that device. All right, so we can come in, we looked at our clients, we can look at our client detail, our different client tools. Now, we can use this to locate. In fact, I come down here, here is our directional antenna. So our directional antenna can be connected to the antenna connector on the top of the OneTouch AT. This is very useful when we're doing locating. What we find is this signal right here is a plane that operates around the front of this antenna. So as we move this around, we'll find that we can see does the signal get stronger or weaker. So typically, I'll walk along, I'll see if it gets weaker, back up, turn this way, does it get stronger? This way, does it get stronger? Now, if I go this way, it gets weaker, this way it gets weaker. Well, it could be that that AP is above me or below me. So in that case, because of the plane on here, what I want to do is I want to rotate this 90 degrees. Tilt it up, tilt it down. I can then use this directional antenna to help me locate exactly where those rogue devices are. Now, the hard part with locating clients is that with clients, they only transmit when they have something to say. So oftentimes with access points, they are beaconing, and it makes it easier to locate those, or they're transmitting lots of packets. With clients, it makes it much more difficult, because if they're not talking, then we don't see that we don't really see that traffic out there. Now the other one is capture. So let's do this. Let's switch in here. We're going to go to clients. And we're going to sort by signal strength. We're going to sort signal. All right, so here's this apple right there. The odds are very good. That is my Mac that we're using for our presentation right now. So I'm going to click on my Mac, and it's going to show me what my utilization looks like. And you know, I'm broadcasting this webcast with video and so on. So we expect that we're going to see some utilization on there. Shows us our retries, shows us our transmit rate, shows us our receive rate. We'll scroll down, tells us at what speed we're connected, number of streams, the channel width. So now we want to capture this traffic. We want to capture this 802.11 AC traffic. So there's tools, all kinds of tools out there. I'm going to show you, this is about as easy as it gets. I can come into Tools, I click Capture, and it says, ooh, we're going to capture on the Wi-Fi connection. Now, I'll show you how we can capture on the wired connection. We can click on that. We could say port A and B, inline, or Wi-Fi. We're going to do Wi-Fi, our wireless filter. So we're going to say we're going to capture on channel 36. Now in this case, I'm going to capture 80 megahertz wide channels. Here's the MAC address of my device. I am going to capture control frames. I'm going to capture data frames. I'm going to capture all the management frames. My file format. What format do I want to put that in? PCAP, Wireshark, Air Magnet, Qualcomm, or just PCAP? We'll put it in ClearSight. Now I click Start Capture. We're going to call this Mike's Mac. Now we are capturing the packets to and from my Mac. That's what it took. Now, we could use any analyzer we want to open that trace file and analyze those packets. That analyzer doesn't have to be capable of capturing wireless traffic. Our OneTouch AT is capable of capturing up to 802.11 AC, 80 megahertz wide traffic. So here's our data, here's our control. So I can stop the capture. That capture is saved to the SD card in that device. So if I came out to my web browser and I browsed out to 10.0.0.177, we see that even just using the web browser, not even using Link Live Cloud, I could go to Files. That same security I set up before applies to the files. I can go to my SD card and we could find, I could sort by date modified. There's micmac.pcap. I could open that trace file and start analyzing those packets. Makes it very easy to capture. I can capture by channel. I can capture by MAC address. I could capture by frame type. So when we were troubleshooting these problems where we were getting the deauth frames, we used this to go in and capture the packets at the same time. We captured everything on that channel. So it started giving us a good picture of what was going on that channel. So when it comes to doing capturing, not only can we capture on our wired network, but we can capture on our wireless network as well. Okay. So in this case, it says, can I please demonstrate roaming? I'll tell you what. I will, when I put together the video for this, I will put together a short little video showing roaming. So when Kim sends out the follow-up email to everyone, and it's got links to the recorded version of this training, I'll have her throw a link in there as well for what roaming looks like on here. And I'll do a roaming example. It's really hard for me to do roaming in the middle of the webcast like this, but we'll get you a video of what that looks like. Okay? So one of the questions, packets not captured. Packets not captured are ones that do not match the filter. So we filtered on the MAC address of my Macintosh or my MacBook. So if those packets don't match that filter, then we don't capture them. Also, if those packets have FCS errors, we're not going to capture them. So the thing is, we're capturing in the air. This is why being able to get in line with those packets becomes so important. And we're going to get into how we can do an inline capture here in just a minute. Okay. So in this case, I've captured those wireless packets. I've written them to the SD card. I can either web into the OneTouch and transfer that information, or I can pop that SD card out, plug it into my PC, and I can open that traffic. All right. So here's our locate. As we're going around, in fact, let's do this. We'll switch to this view right here. We'll bring that up, and I'll grab my antenna. So we're going to take the antenna, we're going to connect it to the external antenna connection. Now, when we have the external antenna connected, it will not transmit using the external antenna. The external antenna is receive only. So I've got it connected up right here to the OneTouch. So if we came back here, we went back, and we said tools, we said locate. So now it's going to show our signal strength. So I pointed at my Mac, we see our signal strength goes up. As we rotate it away from the Mac, we see the signal strength goes down. This is how directional this antenna is. I rotate back around, I point it at the Mac, there our signal strength goes way up, and I bring it right down here real close to it, and we get a good signal. So this is where we can use this antenna to walk around. Now we've got a little clip that we can put on the back of the case here, or we can clip that on, and we can use that. But this is where that directional antenna comes in. We can turn on our sound if we So we can use this as a way to walk around and identify where devices are. So using that directional antenna, it becomes a very powerful feature there for being able to go in and identify, where devices are. I was walking along and I went along a wall and it got low, and I went back high, low, low, low. I said, it's on the other side of that wall right there. And we went in, there was a shelf, and there was the AP sitting right there on that shelf. All right. Is it possible to do both Wi-Fi and wired capture at the same time? If you have two OneTouches. No, we can't. We can only capture either on wired or wireless at the same time. Okay, what does the G2 do that the AT can't? The big thing with the G2 is it supports 802.11 AC, and it supports interferers. Those are going to be the big things, the big difference that we see in there between those devices. Okay? So if we have just the AT, we can do 802.11n, but we're not going to be able to, we can see non-Wi-Fi traffic, but we can't see interference devices. If we have a G2, we can do all wireless from 802.11 AC and below, and we can see the interference devices. That's going to be the big difference in there when it comes to what you can and can't do between those two. All right, so we just took a look at our wireless capture. Channels, we can drill in, see channel detail. Channel, about the only tool that we have there for channel is capture, which is fine. We can say, show me everything that's happening on that particular channel. There's our interferers. So in this case, if I select an interferer, well, here it tells me a conventional microwave oven. So it tells us that the affected channel, 8, 9, 10, 11, tells us when we first saw it, how long has this been going on, shows us our signal strength. If we go to tools, we can click on locate. We can use this as a way to locate those devices. So this starts giving us a picture of what's going on. Now, we need more detail on what's happening on the physical layer of the wireless side. That's where we really need to start looking at tools like Spectrum XT, which is the air magnet product from NetScout. And we could use that as a way to really drill in and capture some of that information. But the OneTouch, especially with the G2 module, is going to give us an idea of what type of devices are causing us interference, help us locate those devices. So now we turn on that locate. We can look for our signal strength to go up or down. All right, packet capture. So let's take a look at how we can get in here and capture packets. So if I come back over here to my OneTouch, and we go to our tools, we page down, we go to capture. So we can select our connection. So I can say capture on port A only, A and B, inline, and Wi-Fi. A only. I just want to capture what's coming in on port A. This could be I've connected to a span or a mirror port on my switch. I want to capture all the packets coming in from that. Ports A and B. This could be an example of where I've connected to a tap. So I've connected to a breakout tap. And what it's doing is it's taking the traffic in one direction and sending it into A, traffic in the other direction into B. The key here is that it is taking the traffic received on A and the traffic received on B and merging that traffic together into a single data stream. Inline. In this case, it's bridging ports A and B together. So this allows us to put this tool in the path of the packets. And then we have Wi-Fi. Okay. So if I choose inline, then it's going to bring the link up on A, it's going to bring the link up on B, it's going to pass that traffic through and allow me to start capturing. So in this example, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to plug port B into this voice over IP phone. So I've got a phone right here. I'm going to plug that into the phone. Now we're going to do some VoIP analysis here in just a bit, but I just want to show you with inline how this works. So I've set it up so that my network is plugged into port A, the phone is plugged into port B, and this network port is a PoE capable port. We are not going to set up any filters. Now I could filter on MAC, VLAN, IP, port. I could say not, don't capture stuff that matches this address. So we can create a filter on A, we could create a separate filter on B if we wanted. We can set our speed and duplex. I'm going to set it to auto. Let the OneTouch figure it out. So now I'm going to hit start capture. We'll call this June inline. Now, what it's going to do is it is passing PoE. In fact, if we came over, let's make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. If we look at this, the phone's all lit up. It says it's booting. So now it's come up and it's registered. And we see here that it shows us how many packets we captured. Let's get back over there. Shows us how our speed, our duplex, shows us how many packets we've captured. And it shows us, this is what I really like, it shows us how much power that phone's drawing. It says the phone's drawing about 2.73 watts, tells us our voltage and our current draw. So now we've captured all the packets of that phone starting up. Now we have a VoIP analysis feature, and we're going to go in and dig into that VoIP analysis feature here in just a minute. We don't have a lot of minutes left, so I'm going to hurry up and get to that. But this could be put in line with a PC. I want to see what that PC is doing. So I can put this in line and capture the traffic going to and from that PC. So it supports capturing multiple ports, A, B. We can capture Wi-Fi traffic. We can set up filters, like I said, based on MAC, VLAN, IP address, TCP ports. We can force our speed and duplex, or we can let it auto figure it out. We can capture packets. Okay. So in this case, like we said, it'll pass PoE. Wanted to prove that to you. We can see where it passes PoE. Let me come in here. Okay, if I connect the fiber port but don't connect the Ethernet port, the fiber will not work. Is this normal? Well, we can certainly test that after we get done here. Do we see, let's see, did we see the capture that is coming from port A or B? Well, in this case, let's switch over here. We're seeing both. This is merging that traffic together. So it's taking all the packets we captured on A and merging those with all the packets we saw on B, because we're doing it in line. Does it capture VLAN tag? Absolutely. So if you have a VLAN trunk passing through here, it will pass that trunk information. Can it generate PoE? No. So in that case, if you need, it will pass PoE, but it won't generate it. Like in this case, let me hit switch over here. In this case, I'm just using a little PoE power injector right there, but for this phone. But the OneTouch will not generate PoE. You have to be plugged into a PoE device. Ooh, can A and B mode be used to measure end-to-end latency? I like you. That's the kind of thinking I like right there. Yes, we could plug A into one side of a firewall and B into the other side of the firewall and capture the packet going in and capturing the packet out. Not a more advanced subject I wanted to delve into in this particular class, but yes, we could use that. Now, I don't know what the accuracy is. I know that on like the OptiView, the accuracy is about 40 nanoseconds. So it'd be interesting to do some testing on that to find out what the accuracy is. I would say it's down in the nanosecond time frame, but it's going to give us a very good picture of how much latency is being added as the packets go through there. That's a good one. I like that. All right. So let me see if I can get back here to my screen. So our packet capture, we saw that we could do it on Wi-Fi. So VoIP, we're placed in line with our phone. Let's take a look at our VoIP analysis. So in this case, we are coming from our network into port A, out of port B into the phone. And that is exactly the setup that we have here on the desk. So what I do is I come in here and we're going to stop our capture. Now when I stop the capture, Well, in this case, it didn't drop the connection. That's good. But let's go back. We're going to go to Tools. We're going to page down. We're going to go to VoIP Analysis. Now, I'm going to set my speed to auto. And we're going to go ahead and set capture to enable. So this will not only monitor the communications, but it's going to capture the packets at the same time. And I'm going to hit start. Now when I do that, it brings the link up on A. Brings the link up on A, then it brings the link up on B. And if we look at our monitor, it shows this traffic. I'm going to go to the log. So right now it says it's listening for VoIP traffic. It says that we're connected to this switch on this port. So now we see that our phone sent out a DHCP discover. It got an offer, it sent a request, it got an ACK. Now we start seeing these SIP options come across. And this is very much going to depend on the voice over IP protocol you're running. In this case, we're decoding SIP. So we need to make sure that that phone system that you have, we can decode those messages. If it's encrypted, if it's proprietary, we're not going to get this level of detail. In this case, we're using the session initiation protocol. We see that info. So now, if I grab my cell phone right here, I pick up the phone, and I call my cell phone. Okay. So we can see on the screen what's going on. So I'm going to answer that call. So now we have this call in progress. So what it does is it shows us that we're using the real-time protocol. We see that we're using G711, G712. We do not have a VLAN tag, and it tells us what our type of service is set to. Now here's an interesting one. We see that our type of service is set to 2 different values in here depending on what direction we're headed. That's kind of interesting. But now I'm going to go ahead and hang up my call. When I hang up my call, it comes back and tells me what happened with this. I sent 1,581 packets. None were dropped. We see our jitter was 13 milliseconds, minimum 18, maximum 31, average 20. Tells us that our MOS score, our mean opinion score, was 4.4, and our R factor was 92.8. So this gives me an idea of what my call quality is. So if I stop this, and I come up here and generate a report, and I say save report, here's my VoIP analysis. I can turn that off. I don't want to see all of this. I don't want to see all of this. I now hit save. So now it's going to save that voice over IP information. So if I came back here and I went to Files, and I said Internal Reports, and we looked at the PDF report that we just created. This gives us, there's our VoIP overview information, there's our log information. So that's the report that we just generated out of that VoIP voice over IP analysis. So when it comes to troubleshooting voice over IP, very nice feature in being able to come in and see that voice over IP communication between those devices. So this takes us through the setup, the log, and the reporting. So let's take on profiles. If we came up here, we click on that button right up there next to the battery indicator, brings up a list of our profiles. I can save this profile, and it will save all the settings that I changed in the OneTouch AT. I can come in here, I can open profiles, I can manage them, I can import and export them. So I could copy a profile to an SD card, move it around from one OneTouch to another. Or better yet, I could claim all my OneTouches into Link Live. I could then upload the profile to each one of those into the profile directory, and that profile would show up. This allows me to take and copy profiles from one OneTouch to another. Okay. This is where I can go through Link Live and do that. So some of this we talked about already. We talked about claiming that, and in fact, let's go through, and we've looked at a number of those, but as one last piece here, we're going to turn on two things. One is, let's see if we can get this to show up on the camera. In fact, here is, here's the little Wi-Fi adapter. Okay, now it's hard to see the number on there. So hard that I'll even put on my glasses to take a look at it. But this is an ASUS USB N10. So what I can do is I can take my little ASUS USB N10, I can plug that into the USB port on that device. Now I'm going to come in and we're going to go down to management port. And I'm going to switch the management port from active port of wired to Wi-Fi. Now this is probably going to cause me to lose connection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, I'm going to select an SSID. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to hit connect. Now this will cause us to lose connection via our VNC connection right here. Now just to show you, I'm going to take my wired connection and I'm going to unplug it, and it tells me I'm linked and I have an address of 207. So I'm going to come back here to VNC, and I'm going to connect to 207. So there we are. We are connected via wireless to the management port on our OneTouch. So this is where I could now take the OneTouch and carry it around, and you'd be able to see the connectivity on there. Now the other one I want to show you on here, see what our auto test is set to. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to say I want to do a periodic auto test. We're going to do this once a minute, and we're going to go ahead and launch that. So what's happening is this will run this test every minute. And when the test completes, it'll automatically upload those test results to Link Live. So we could go out and we could see what those test results look like. So it's running the test. It'll say the next run is happening at this time. So after it gets done running the test, it will show us how many successful results we had, how many unsuccessful results we had, and it will upload those test results. So we could go out to Link Live and we could take a look at those results. This is a great way that we can send this device out to a remote site, have it run that test. Okay, so there's one successful result. So now, if I go out to Link Live, we see we have a test result out here from 4:56 a.m. It's about, well, pretty close to where we're at. We could take a look at those test results. Every minute, we're going to see a new test result show up out here on this screen. So we can set that up to run over and over and over again. All right. Let's come in here. So one of the questions is there something similar with video quality? Not right now. But you know, hopefully at some point we could see where we could put this in line and use it to monitor video quality. How long does a full battery charge last? You know, we could look that one up. I usually, you know, typically I can get about 3 hours or so out of this if I'm really going in and doing testing with it. Yeah. So if you're going to go completely portable, and it really depends on, are you doing wireless testing and wired testing, etc. All right. Oh. Can I configure a proxy to connect to the internet? Yes. So I'm going to come over and stop our periodic auto test. If I come in and I click on this right here, Cloud Proxy, this is where we can configure our proxy information. So if you need to go through a proxy server, we can configure that to connect out to Link Live. Okay. What are the ways to update this? That is a fantastic question. What we would do is we would come out here and we would go to enterprise.netscout.com. We can go to support. We can go to Gold and Master Care Support. We can log into our account, and if you don't have your account information, please contact your, NetScout Tech Support, and they can get you connected up, get you your login information, make sure you can connect. So now I'm going to log in. Now I don't have any, because these are all training equipment, I don't have any of my equipment registered right now, but I could come in and I could go into downloads and updates. It would say, oh, you have a OneTouch AT G2, and it would show me my updates. I would then go in and download that update, and I could either push it out to the OneTouch using the web interface or using the cloud, or I could put it on the SD card, copy it on there. Once I have it on the SD card, I could come down here to my file tools, go to version, well, let's see. I could come into my information, let's see, update software. And I could say I want to grab that software off the SD card, and it's going to show me my images out here. I could grab that, and I could update my software using that. So that's how I'd go in and go about updating the software on there. So we are at 4 hours. So I want to be respectful of your time. And we came in pretty close. We're at the end of our presentation. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. And I hope that you were able to find this information useful. I hope that this is going to help you get more out of your OneTouch AT, ATG2, AT10G. and that you're going to be able to use that for troubleshooting. And stay tuned as time goes on. We get more and more information out about these, and we will be doing more classes. As I've mentioned a couple times, these sessions were recorded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together the live video piece with the PowerPoint and the screen images. I'll get those links to Kim. Kim will send out an email to everybody and let you know how you can get access to those. So again, thank you very much for attending. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'm going to go back through the question log, take a look at the questions. If there are any questions I couldn't get to, I'll do my best to get you an answer to those questions. So again, thank you very much for attending, and I hope to see you on a future session.